Great. Hi, everyone, and welcome to our MIT Leaders for Global Operations virtual info session. I'm Pam Searle. I'm a member of the MIT LGO admissions team, and I'm joined today by my colleague Sharona Bollinger and 4 of our current LGO students. 2 of our students are actually graduating tomorrow, so they're soon to be alumni. So first, I'll let our current students introduce themselves. Maybe if you could share your engineering department, what you were doing before LGO, and maybe for the 2 second years, let us know your plans for after graduation. So why don't we start with Franklin and Shane, and then Stephanie and Luke.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Franklin Morgan. I'm an LGO 21, so graduating tomorrow, very exciting. I'm in course 1, which is civil and environmental engineering. Before school, I worked for a healthcare software company for a couple of years, and then was in supply chain at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia for 3 years. And after school, I'll be going back into healthcare, working at ChenMed in Miami, which is a primary care provider that's based down there. And I'll be doing a leadership development program.
Hey everyone, I'm Shane Vigil, also LGO 21, looking forward to tomorrow. I'm astronautics for my engineering department. Before school, I was a military pilot. It's been a great experience here, and my plan after school is to work for Northrop Grumman in San Diego, California.
Hi, everyone. My name is Stephaniesmalinski. I am pursuing a master's in mechanical engineering with the LGO program. Prior to coming to LGO, I worked in aerospace. I held a variety of roles, all within on the production floor. So anywhere from operations management to production engineering. And I will pass it over to Luke.
Hi, everyone. I'm Luke Chang. I'm also in the mechanical engineering department. Prior to LGO, I was in the oil and gas industry, specifically downstream refining, working as a process engineer for about 5 years.
Perfect. Thank you. So for today's session, we'll first talk about the program and hear from our current students, and then Sharona will talk a bit about the admissions process. And then finally, we'll save a few minutes at the end for your questions. So we'll start by talking about the LGO Network. The LGO program is our 2-year dual degree in which you earn an MBA and a Master of Science in Engineering in one of 8 engineering disciplines. As an LGO student, you also have access to over 20 partner companies for internships, networking, and recruiting opportunities. We also have our own dedicated LGO program staff for student services, career networking, and financing. Next, we will show you a sample curriculum. We have a full sample curriculum and program timeline on our website on the academics page, but we have just a snapshot of the first 2 semesters for you. There we are. As you can see by the color coding, each of the colors represents an engineering, LGO, and Sloan classes, and you'll be taking a mix of classes during each semester. The first summer semester is the LGO Summer Core, where students take special classes as a cohort designed by the LGO program. And then in the fall semester, students join the MBA students for the MBA Core, where LGOs are placed on Sloan Core teams. So the LGOs also begin taking their engineering classes during this first fall semester. So for our panelists, what are some of your favorite memories from the LGO Summer Core?
I guess I can go first. So I guess we recently had a class, part of building and leading effective teams, which is a class that goes all the way your entire LGO semesters. And one of the questions was that kind of like, what was your favorite memory? And you have a core team that you're assigned to with other LGOs during the summer. And we kind of like talked about it, and we all kind of agreed that our favorite memory was working on this problem that we got from our optimization class. You can see there at the bottom, system optimization analysis. What we had to do, I'll quickly go over the challenge, was like we had this set of wooden beams. We have to try to make the most, optimize the amount of wooden beams with all these constraints. The problem, it was a problem. We tackled it like we learned in class, but there was like an element of programming, an element of like, you know, coming up with these linear math programs, and then like kind of an element of trial and error. And it was kind of late in the night, and all of our team was just kind of in this circle. This is pre-COVID, so we were, you know, we're all in the office there, and we're just kind of like yelling out to each other, all right, I found a beam, I found a beam. And it was just like kind of a fun time. And although probably at the time we wouldn't have said it was a fun time, like we look back on the memory like that, and I was like, that was an awesome experience just to kind of go through that with our team, and kind of like the struggles we had even beyond that as a team. And I don't know, definitely lifetime friendships were made in that room that night. So that would be my favorite experience.
Yeah, I can build on that. Definitely agree. I think the course semester the LGO course semester is really intense. It's a ton of work. You're in class all day, and then you're working together in your core teams and, you know, across your core teams to get all your work done. And I think it really is an opportunity to build very strong relationships. And for us in 21, a lot of that happened just in the LGO lounge, where it's kind of the catalyst for everyone to get to know each other, to get work done. One thing that I look back on really fondly is one perk of MIT is that there's a sailing pavilion right across the street from the LGO lounge, and you do like one lesson and then you kind of have free reign to take out sailboats. And so I learned how to do it at the beginning of the summer. And it was just an awesome way to step away for a few minutes and go sail for an hour. And one thing that I loved doing was just grabbing another LGO or two and, you know, getting them out on the water and trying to figure that out together and just take a break away from the lounge and then jump right back into it. So definitely agree with Shane, tons of opportunities to really work through things as a team and also build really strong relationships in that first summer.
I can jump in and share a little bit about the class of 2022's experience, or at least from my perspective. So obviously we were kind of right in the middle of the pandemic. So our experience was different than maybe Shane and Franklin's, but for me, it was being able to get together and in these small groups on the weekends and go outside. And, you know, we met at parks and we had barbecues and we were doing small group things outside. And while it wasn't, we weren't able to do it all together, right? We weren't able to have all 50 of us together in one spot. It gave me a chance to really get to know some of my classmates outside of my core team on a more personal level. And for me, that's where a lot of these bonds really started to be formed and stuff that I've really tried to build on now moving forward as we do kind of navigate out of the pandemic. But everything for me started that first summer. And I feel like I've just created some really lifelong friendships. You know, moving forward, I can't imagine my life without some of these people that I've met. And it just really speaks to the caliber of people that I think the LGO program attracts in general.
Yeah, and maybe I could add a little bit real quickly, because mine's also very different than all three, just because I took the summer virtually. So I wasn't able to meet with anyone in person, but you know, even with that, I found the community to be very inclusive, like we did. And I think this is a tradition we did. Presentations, I think 2 to 3 people would present once a week, like before LGOI, and it's a quick presentation about what they did, followed with like a Q&A and happy hour. So it was a great way for me to personally meet a bunch of people and, you know, learn about what they've done. And everyone had like amazing backgrounds. And even once I moved to Cambridge in August, you know, it was, again, very inclusive. Everyone was hitting me up or, you know, planning little group outings, and it was, you know, great and an easy way to meet people.
Great. And maybe building off of the summer semester, what are some of your favorite classes that you've taken while at MIT?
I can jump in first. I think one thing that really stood out in the summer semester was our operations management class. We have a professor named Sean Willems, who I think is a big fan favorite among all LGOs, and just has an incredible wealth of knowledge, and all of the cases that he does are based off of essentially consulting work that he's done with real companies and in all different industries. So that was an incredible start to the summer. And then one other class that I'll mention that I took this fall is called Management of Services with Professor Zainab Tan. She teaches essentially operations management, but bringing it into the services space. So for me in healthcare, I thought it was really interesting to kind of not just look at how a factory floor works, but understand how like the flow of information across people and different workers, how to optimize that. And I think for me, that class, what was most powerful is she really talks about empowering your workforce and building an inclusive community and kind of making a workplace that you want to be a part of and that you want your workers to be a part of. So that's one that really stood out to me, and I'm excited to apply that to my future job.
I can build off that. I think one underlying thing I would point out to the crowd is how Franklin knows the professors' names. And I think that is what makes a class like maybe like awesome, like good to like awesome. So, that being said, she already mentioned Sean. Sean is awesome. I love that class. That's definitely will be my favorites, as I'm sure some of the 22s might agree. Another class that I took, I didn't really have a strong financial background, so it was finance, and it was with Adrian Verdelhan. And I might be saying his last name wrong because we just called him Adrian, but I really enjoyed the way that he broke down a lot of different things in finance. I didn't think I understood, but eventually he got the class to where we needed to be to value companies, be able to really make some strong financial decisions even at the corporate level. So I really enjoyed that class, and that'll be one of my favorites.
Yeah, I was actually going to say the same thing, Shane. So I had a very similar experience with Adrian. I really enjoyed his finance class, and similar to Shane, like I had no financial background at all. So it was really good breaking down the basics and then building upon that. And now I'm currently at my internship. And so through the LGO program, and now with that, I feel like as they do kind of talk about some of these spreadsheets and stuff, and they're going over that, I feel like I have a solid foundation. So for me, when I was thinking back on that, actually just today earlier, I couldn't thank Adrian enough. I was actually going to send him a little note. I struggled with one of the concepts actually, and I remember reaching out to him, and he scheduled a one-on-one with me, and just no big deal at all, and pulled up the slides, and I was able to like annotate them on my iPad while he walked through it. And for me, that was just like an experience I don't think I could have gotten anywhere outside of MIT.
Yeah, maybe I can add a little bit on, I guess, more of the engineering technical side of the classes. So in the summer, I particularly enjoyed optimization. I know that's probably maybe not the most popular opinion just because it's a pretty rigorous class. But I don't know, I enjoyed that aspect of it because I guess came from a background where we did a lot of optimization moves based like manually, like we knew directionally it was the best or better decision, but we didn't know if it was the best decision. So kind of being able to program it and see the best results in some cases was very interesting to me. And then from the Mechie side, I've also enjoyed the robotics course I took this past semester, as well as an AI course, which is actually with course 6, the computer science, but it's a pretty well-known course, and a lot of LGOs end up taking that course.
Great, thank you. So next we'll talk about cross-campus collaboration. So as an MIT LGO student, you're a full member of the MIT Sloan Community and a full member of the MIT School of Engineering. But in addition, you'll be able to get involved with clubs and centers within the wider MIT community. Some of the popular opportunities to collaborate across MIT include the Martin Trust Center for Entrepreneurship, the Energy Club, and the Media Lab. So for our panelists, how has being a part of MIT contributed to your decision to come to LGO? And if you want to share anything that you've sort of experienced within wider MIT, that would also be great.
Yeah, maybe I can kick this off. I feel like in the admissions decisions, I guess if I was going to be honest, I knew that MIT or like a program LGO was integrated with the greater MIT, but I guess I didn't really recognize the magnitude of it until I was actually here. So I recently got involved with MIT Driverless, which is like an autonomous vehicle club driven by students where we're participating in actually 2 big autonomous vehicle racing, I guess, tournaments. So just, being able to access that, being able to work with a bunch of undergrad and grad students has really been an amazing experience, and being able to learn from them and seeing I guess how their brain works and how smart and amazing these people are, has been, truly amazing. So I feel like that's something that I never thought I would be able to do, until I joined, and, seeing like how much they also value us as, a dual degree student with, management experience, and how we're able to contribute in what seems to be a very technical niche area. Yeah, has been a great experience for me.
Yeah, I can jump in. I think for me, in deciding to come to LGO, I was just very struck during the admissions process by the community, and it just felt like there was such a tight-knit group within LGO, and everyone had really like formed these strong connections, and that has absolutely lived up to expectations and even exceeded it. And I think for me, that's also extended past LGO and into both the engineering and Sloan School. So in a lot of my classes, a lot of classes are project-based, and it's pretty common to have, I did one project with a Sloan fellow, an MBA student, and a PhD in the Operations Research Center, and another project, with a PhD student in material science, and another one of my LGO classmates. And so I think just having the opportunity to interact with so many different people from so many different backgrounds and like passions and interests has been just incredible to learn about what people are doing and kind of figure out how to apply that into your own work as well. Yeah, so I think it will naturally occur, by being involved on campus, that you have the opportunity to meet so many different people from so many different backgrounds.
To kind of build on that too, like MIT has so much to offer as a campus. And there's a lot of overlapping interests between, we'd say, like the Sloan side versus the engineering side, even kind of some of the arts and sciences. And I think as an LGO, one of the cool things is, it's part of the curriculum to be kind of put in positions where that overlap is, whether it's kind of inside the classroom, or even like for outside initiatives. I got involved in like a diversity initiative that was really MIT wide, or for the graduate school. And I thought that was really cool because I was interacting like with different folks, even, outside the classroom. And that was pretty important to me, at least when I applied, really kind of meeting folks beyond, I would say, kind of the MBA program and even beyond the engineering, but kind of the overlap of that. And then particularly like the collaboration piece, I was very interested in like the Martin Trust Center. I think you brought that up. And that was a really great place to kind of learn about some of the cool ideas that or some of the cutting edge technology that you'd say maybe is stemming from, a PhD's thesis, but really how do I package that up and maybe make it into a business is where kind of the Sloan side comes in. And it's a really nice confluence there. I think as an LGO, you're going to find yourself in some type of project. Like for me, I was in a space systems engineering class, and it was kind of like Franklin said, PhD, maybe a visiting student from the Lincoln Lab who's not necessarily a part of the entire MIT, but just kind of this niche. And then me as an LGO who's digging into the engineering stuff, but hey, we also need to kind of package how we're going to frame this to the aerospace corporation who's sponsoring the satellite that we're building. So it's been awesome as far as cross-campus collaboration, and I think even before, during, and probably after the program, you're going to experience it.
Yeah, and I feel like Luke, Shane, and Franklin really kind of hit the nail on the head there. Just really, for me, it's stressing the community that exists at MIT. So while you are an LGO, right, you're going to be pursuing a master's in engineering and getting an MBA at the same time. And the community will really value you for that skill set. And I think every class I entered, that was something that they really wanted to know my opinion. They wanted to see like my perspective, having this kind of dual degree. It does, it makes you valuable in everyone's eyes, and you'll return that same respect to everyone, because everyone at MIT is just so inclusive, and their culture really is of collaboration, and that extends into the professor. So I kind of mentioned my story with Adrian, but it's truly that way with every professor I've had. And for me, from my undergrad experience, that wasn't always the case. It felt very siloed. I was a student, I interacted with students and maybe TAs, and the professors, they were doing research or they were kind of doing their own thing and didn't always have time for us as the students. But here it's like, if I have a question, you know, I can bring in our professor into the group that I'm working with, and now they will contribute and collaborate and get us to where we need to be. And so for me, that has been the biggest difference in coming to MIT and in being part of the LGO program, is just having an entire community that extends all the way from you know, your top tier faculty down to every single student, and having them want to actively be engaged and involved and making everyone's experience that much better.
Great, thank you. So up next, we'll talk a little bit about action learning. So the innovative hands-on action learning opportunities at MIT allow you to be challenged and inspired as you work collaboratively with students, faculty, and global organizations. You'll solve real-world problems in and out of the classroom, developing skills, growing your network, and taking your career to new heights. There are over 15 action learning labs that allow students to apply on the ground what they learn in the classroom. In addition, the LGO internship sort of is one big action learning experience embedded within a partner company. So I'd love to ask the panel to share maybe a little bit about any of the action learning labs that you've engaged with since being part of the program.
I can jump in first. So I was part of Healthcare Lab, and the goal there is you do a semester-long project, actually a semester plus. So it's the fall semester plus IAP, which is our kind of month-long semester in January. And we worked with, I was in a team of 4 people, and we worked with Family Health Center of Worcester, which is a community health center just about an hour away from here. And they were looking to re-optimize their scheduling during COVID. So this was kind of in the middle. They were hit really hard, as you know, most places around the country were. They're community health centers, so they're serving underprivileged areas, and we're really dealing with the effects of seeing COVID really raging through those locations, and trying to figure out how to manage, you know, essentially see as many people as possible and roll out their telehealth services and just kind of handle that situation. And so that was honestly an incredible experience. I got to know the team really well. That was the team I mentioned with a Sloan fellow, another MBA, and a PhD in operations research. And I think it was definitely an awesome hands-on experience, because, you know, FHCW thought that they needed this really like technical solution to figure out how to manage all of these different constraints. And I think what we were able to provide was just help prioritizing where to start in making some really simple operational improvements. And so I think just having that reminder of kind of like how the real world works in the middle of this degree was really helpful to understand, like, yes, we're learning some really cool stuff, we're learning new technical skills, but at the same time, it's figuring out how to meet people where they are and, you know, actually like kind of get work done and figure out how to make changes as soon as possible versus, you know, coming up with like the absolute best technical solution that we could. So I really enjoyed the experience. I got to know the team really well. I got to know the company or the organization really well, and would definitely recommend taking advantage of it while on campus.
I can go next. I had a very similar experience in terms of just kind of really positive influence on my time as a LGO. And I did something called Operations Lab this past semester. We worked with Blue Origin, and our problem was kind of based around how they, I would say, allocate resources for really expensive test stands to test their rocket engines. And it was an amazing experience because I was actually applying a lot of the things that we learned, you know, in class or in previous classes to like an actual problem. And it was pretty cool because since you're kind of coming at it at a different angle than maybe somebody that's internal to the company, you really kind of like, I think you really kind of bring some like new insights to them, and I think they really value it. I know a lot of these companies generally sometimes when they want outside help will go to like consulting companies or consulting firms to solve a problem, but those that kind of let MIT kind of take the reins, always have positive things to say in terms of the output that they're getting and the insights that they receive. I'll also mention, I think everyone is going to have to do some type of action learning for their one of the classes called OP, which is the first part of your first semester. And in that class, I got to work with the Boston Public Library on kind of bringing technology to some of their older processes. And that was an awesome experience. And you kind of learn more about nuances of like how companies work, particularly with maybe a company that has unions versus companies that don't, kind of how their books actually work. It's very interesting. So there's a lot of learning that's occurring on the action side too, not just applying what you've learned in the classroom. And the last thing I think, and I'm guessing we're going to talk more about this, is a 6-month internship where you're literally doing things that you learn in the classroom for 6 months at a partner company. I got lucky enough to work for Amazon for 6 months, and it was awesome experience. And it was kind of cool that I was literally bringing things that I've learned in the summer to the company in the midst of a pandemic, in my case. So definitely, I would say action learning is not just a thing that you see on the website, the MIT website or the Sloan website. It's literally done here, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, so as Shane mentioned, OP, it's a class that you take during your core fall semester. And so for me, that was really pivotal because I came from big aerospace. I came from a company, that was very well established, Fortune 500. So for OP, I was really excited about the opportunity to be able to work with a company that was actually taking the step from being a very small startup into kind of like a medium-sized business. And so that was something I had zero experience with. I was able to get in there and kind of see the challenges that they faced and compare them to what I knew from big business. So obviously there were some differences, but it was also interesting to see those similarities there. And you're able to explore a new company through like 3 different lenses. So you're looking at their political structure, their organizational structure, how their culture is, like all these things that maybe you don't necessarily think about. It gives you that time to pause and hit the brakes and really look at something from the outside and give your perspective. And these companies really value that. So that's something that I think has been actually a really influential class for me so far, and especially now that I am on my LGO internship.
Yeah, maybe I could add something, I guess, a little different as well. So I haven't taken any action learning beyond OP. But I guess what I found is a lot of classes do incorporate some hands-on aspect to it, because a big motto for MIT is mens et manus, which is mind and hands. So they teach you the theory, they teach you the stuff to understand and I guess solve problems, but they also want to incorporate the actual solving of problems. So like, for example, there was a product design class I took that Steph actually took it with me, where we actually then, developed a product, prototypes, tested it with customers, iterated, and then, eventually had a final product to present. Similarly, like in robotics, we did a final project where we, programmed a robotic arm as well as a mobile robot to, autonomously go and navigate a certain path. So even if you don't end up taking an action learning lab, I guess, one thing that is good to know is that most of these classes do care about real world application and try to incorporate some way of that, whether that be an actual final project or cases or whatnot.
Great. So up next, we'll talk about partner companies. So at LGO, we have a partnership with over 20 companies, and the partner companies actually fund our program, making it possible for us to provide, on average, at least 50% of tuition scholarship for every admitted candidate. Partner companies also provide guaranteed internships for all students and networking opportunities. Typically about 40 or 50% of our students work at a partner company after graduation. So for our panel, how did the partner companies engage with you during the program so far? And what have been some of the benefits to just having this partner company network?
I can start off. So again, Luke and I had a little bit different experience over the summer. So we were doing company days. So that was, once a week where we'd have 1 or 2 of the partner companies come in and kind of give us a rundown of what their business was, and you know, if they had anything that they like to see LGOs do after graduation, or like what opportunities existed. So for me, that was a really good introduction into like what would be available to me after graduation, and maybe like what I thought would be of interest and what I could pursue more. And then after that, you know, I think the program did a really great job of helping us schedule, you know, set coffee chats. So we do virtual coffee chats over Zoom, and that gave us a chance to get to know, you know, like operating partners for some of these companies. So people that are very excited about the LGO program, really big proponents of it, and you know, they're willing to take time out of their very busy schedules to just come in and chat with us about the program, you know, what we're interested in, where we might be able to see ourselves within their company. So that's something I hadn't personally experienced before, where people that were like very important to these companies were taking a personal interest in me and my development.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. It is pretty incredible when you start, especially over the summer, you really do see the impact of the LGO network. And there are many people that are both alums and just employees at these companies that, like Stephanie said, are very invested in getting to know the LGOs and want to share more about their company and want to share opportunities for work afterwards. I think for me, one huge benefit was I came from healthcare. I'd really only worked in a single industry, and having the partner company connection just opens you up to understanding how so many different industries work. And you get that both from the company days that Stephanie was talking about, and also from Domestic Plan Trek, which is our 2.5 week long trip around the country to visit most of these companies and see their operations and better understand how they work. So that was a huge benefit for me to to just get that exposure to all of these different industries. And I think the other thing that I'll say that was really mind-blowing to me is I won't be going to work for a partner company afterwards, but seeing the recruiting process in the fall is just honestly otherworldly compared to like a normal recruiting process. So I think for the job that I ended up taking, I probably had truly like 8 different interviews and coffee chats with people. I had to make a presentation. I had to give it to multiple people. By the time you get to recruiting for LGO, you have met a lot of the people that work at all these companies. You have a really good understanding of, how these companies work and their operations and where you might fit in. And, my friends that are going to work for these partner companies in LGO had maybe a 30-minute interview or an hour-long interview and come out with these incredible offers. And I think it's just, you truly do have so many options coming out of this program, and the partner companies are a massive part of that. So from day one, you really see the impact of their involvement in this program.
Great, thank you. So we'll move on to our last slide now. I just want to be mindful of the time and talk a bit about the community. So the LGO program has about 50 students per year with a small, close-knit cohort community. Then, as I mentioned, they join the fall. In the fall, they join the MBA with a larger network. There's 400 MBAs total, including the 50 LGOs. And then in addition, LGOs are encouraged to integrate into their engineering departments, as well, getting involved in research and labs. So for our panel, if you could share an experience that illustrates the MIT LGO community.
I can kick us off. So actually really recently we had 2 classmates that both just had babies within like a week of each other. And we had done this previously for one of my classmates who had his baby last summer, but our student life committee came together and said, hey, you guys, we'd like to do something for Jeff, that was his name, who's having a baby here. Like, would anyone be willing to kick in a couple dollars, and we could do some Uber Eats gift cards and maybe little LGO onesies for the babies and have those custom made. And I think it was really cool that we got over 90% participation for that. So that was just one thing I was thinking about that really, I think, highlights and exemplifies the LGO community. Like, we are all here for each other. We are really, like, it feels like we are one big LGO family. We call them our little LGO babies. So we just had 2 new additions, and that for me highlights our community.
Yeah, one thing that stood out to me, again, always very focused on community. But so when the pandemic started in February and early March, for the class of 21, most of us were kind of spread around the country and world on internships, and a few were still at school doing their spring semester, and so really dispersed. Hadn't had a ton of contact, and I think the internship tends to be there originally are like, there normally are opportunities to reconnect and come back onto campus, but it was pretty clear that that just wasn't going to happen with everything going on. And so I think truly week one of the pandemic, someone threw up a Zoom invite for a weekly hangout, like happy hour on Wednesday nights. And I think probably like a majority of our class joined every week. And, it really was like an awesome respite just to hear about what people were doing, how their internships were going, how the pandemic was going, like where everyone was around the country, and really just was kind of exemplified that community to me, and really kept me going throughout the spring semester.
Great, thank you. So now we'll transition and have Sharona talk a bit about the LGO application process, and then if we have time, we will answer a few of your questions.
Thanks, Pam. Yeah, I'll just try to quickly walk through the application process and timeline for this year. So we are planning to announce our deadline soon, but we don't have them out quite yet. But round one will be in late September or early October, with final decisions going out in mid-December. And round two will be in early December, with final decisions released in early March of next year. Just some background. Historically, we admit the majority of the class in round two, but we suggest that you apply when your application is most ready. It is also very common to be waitlisted in round one into round two, and that's not necessarily indicative of the strength of your application, but more that the engineering departments who only have one round of applications every cycle tend to be more aligned with our round two timeline. A note for anyone who is specifically thinking of applying to ORC is that the Operations Research Center will only admit in round two. So even if you apply in round one, you will not hear a decision until early March. So that's just something to be aware of. Moving along to the nuts and bolts of the application. For LGO, you submit just one single online application through the Sloan MBA system. You apply to one of our 8 departments and demonstrate interest and fit with that specific engineering department, as well as MIT. Our most basic requirements to be eligible for LGO are to have a prior STEM degree and to have 2 to 10 years of full-time work experience. On average, our students have about 5 years of work experience, so that gives you an idea of the range of experience that we're looking for. On the application, we require a resume, a short cover letter, and 2 recommendation letters, one professional and one technical. And this year we are offering and encouraging a 3rd additional but optional technical letter. So the professional letter should come from a manager or supervisor, and we recommend that the technical letter come from an academic source if possible. A technical supervisor, such as a chief engineer or data scientist who has worked closely with you and can speak to your quantitative problem solving, can also provide a technical recommendation. The optional 3rd letter is just to help us learn more about your approach to problem solving and technical abilities. The LGO application also asks for an engineering statement of purpose, which is only around 300 words, a similar length to the cover letter. And this is where it is best to be very specific about your goals and interests in MIT. This is a great place to highlight what research areas you are interested in, what faculty you want to study with, courses that you plan to take, and what you hope to gain from the LGO program. The cover letter and the statement of purpose should complement each other, but cover different strengths of your background and application. The video statement is a 60-second introduction, and while I know it makes people very nervous, please don't be. It is a great place to highlight aspects of yourself that would not otherwise appear in a written application, and we are just looking for an authentic snapshot of you, whatever that means for you. So we're not looking for anything elaborate. The most important thing to keep in mind is that we can clearly hear what you're saying in the video. And lastly, we will ask for an org chart, which helps us understand where you are in your specific organization structure. After the application deadline, we interview a subset of applicants, usually around 30% of total submitted. The interviews are behavioral based, where you'll be asked to draw on past experiences to describe how you manage different kinds of situations. They are pretty short and conversational and will be hosted by a Sloan admissions officer. The last component of the application I want to cover today is test scores. So last year we waived our test score requirement, but a decision has not been finalized for this upcoming cycle. So please check back on our website within the next couple of weeks to learn more. Generally speaking, we accept either the GRE or the GMAT, and we have no preference between the two. If you are an undergraduate student currently and are looking ahead, we have some options for you as well. Last year, we launched the LGO Early option, where MIT seniors can apply to secure a seat in a future LGO class. When a candidate is admitted to the LGO Early option, then they go work for 2 to 5 years post-graduation before returning to enroll in LGO. If you are not an MIT senior, if you're an undergraduate at a different school, you can still apply to Sloan's MBA Early program, secure a seat in a future MBA class, and then the fall before you decide to enroll, you can then apply for LGO. All right, that's the end of the application review. If you have any questions that are not answered today, please check out our website, lgo.mit.edu, or reach out to us at lgo@mit.edu.
Perfect. Thanks, Sharona. So I think we have time for just like 1 or 2 questions. So maybe our panelists can help answer this one. What is a common misconception that prospective students have about MIT LGO?
I can maybe kick this off. I think part of it's also because of the name, Leaders in Global Operation, but I think a lot of people think, we're solely operation, solely manufacturing focused, but I found that not to be the case, both in, student interest, but also the curriculum that it's built around. So the curriculum also includes a lot around optimization, like we mentioned, data analytics. So like how to leverage data and, basically, how to leverage data to make better decisions, right? So a lot of us also go into data analytics type role. Our internships also tend to be a little data analytics heavy. Some even go into like deep learning, kind of like data science type stuff. And also afterwards, a lot of LGOs go into non-operation, non-manufacturing roles. So that I think maybe the biggest misconception.
Great, thank you. So if you didn't have your question answered today, feel free to email us at lgo@mit.edu, as Sharona mentioned, but we're just about out of time. So I just wanted to let you know that we have a number of upcoming virtual events this summer, and so we encourage you to register on our website. Thank you so much to our panelists for your time today, and I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their day. Thanks, guys.